Hello. In today's video, I will be talking about the display property for HTML and CSS. There are many different display properties, but the main ones we're going to be focusing on are block, inline, and none. A couple of the properties we're not going to talk about are inline, block, and flex. We may cover those later at a different date, but these are the main ones that you're going to really find yourself using over and over again. So, what is display block? So, well, I guess even before that, the purpose of display is basically to help lay out elements on the page. Some elements you may want them to appear right next to each other. This is in the territory of inline, and other elements you kind of want them to have their own, just like their own line, and this is going to be block. Like suppose you have a sign up button. You kind of want that to be on its own line, so that'll be block. But then there are other things that you want to be just side by side, so those are going to be inline. And finally, display none is basically how to make something invisible, or if you want to make something disappear, like suppose there's like an X button up here and they click that, how do you make it disappear? That's where you use display none. Okay, so let's go into these one by one. Let's start with display block. So display block takes up its own line, and one way to think about it is its width. The width basically stretches out to the edges as far as it can go by default. Let's take a look at an example here. So here, let me clear this out. So if we have a page, and let's say we have some HTML with just has a single letter X. That X will be inside this div, and that div is actually going to extend all the way as far as it can go. So what that usually means is it'll be 100% of the width of its container. That says container. And yeah, so basically anything can contain other elements. So whatever contains this div will determine the width of that div. Okay, now let's see an example. Let's illustrate this with some code. So starting with a blank document, I'll put a div in here, and let's just give it a single value of X. And we'll make a couple of these. In fact, let's look at some other examples of block level elements. You have form, li tags, paragraph tags, h1, h2, h3. Let's put an h1 tag here. I'm large. Because H1 stands for header, so those tend to be bigger and more. They look more like titles. So let's see what that looks like. There you go. You see each one takes up its own space, its own line. And notice how it really doesn't matter whether I put them on the same line in the HTML. They are still block level elements, and therefore they will take up their own line. Okay, so one thing that's not clear just from looking at this is exactly how wide these elements are. I'm going to show you a trick. I use this all the time just to so I can understand exactly where the boundaries of all elements are on my page. I show the background color of, or I give a background color to my elements. So I'll give this one a class of, I don't know, yellow. And I'll say yellow. Oh, forgot my style tag. Okay, so background. Color yellow. All right, so let's see what that looks like. So there you go. Now you see that this div right here, the entire background of that div is now yellow. So you can see that this div basically goes all the way across to the edge of the page there. And if I make it bigger or smaller, it expands. Okay, let's do it for the H1 as well. Let's give it, we can give it the same class yellow. You see they both go across the whole page as we expected. Okay, one other thing about divs is kind of by default, they have 100% width, but you can give them a custom width. And you can give them a height too. So let's see how that would play out. We can give it an ID here. I'll give them different widths. So I'll say top div, and this one I'll call it bottom div. So say top div, we'll give it a width of 100 pixels. Let's see what that looks like. You see now the width of that div is not going across the whole screen. And this one, bottom div, we'll give it a percentage so you can see what that looks like. We can say 50%.